Welcome to everybody. Shelby, would you lead us in the opening prayer?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and every day that you grant us. We ask you guys to be helpful for everything within the county and to your willing. We ask this in your name.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated, please.
Have there been any citizens signed up to
Yes, sir. There's one, Miss Moy.
Ms. Moy? I'm not sure whether those microphones are working or not. You might try and see.
Hit that little button.
Thank you. I'll speak loudly.
All right, you can talk loud enough.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners Court, and good morning, Judge Long. I'm here today to address House Bill 3198. As you may be aware, we have been working for the last several years with representatives and senators in hopes of trying to get some type of a bill into law that will help with the number of and the placement of these saltwater disposal wells in Karnes County. Right now in Karnes County, we have approximately around 81 saltwater injection wells. Many of them are still have a lot of capacity to go. But through the years, we've noticed that there's been a problem with the permitting processes. And the problem with it is that the Railroad Commission has the ability to tell the people that are permitting that you must apply with the intent to apply for a permit 3 weeks in a local newspaper before you apply with the Railroad Commission directly. The information that these companies are putting out is very, very vague and have no coordinates. They don't really give the exact locations. Therefore, the people have to go looking feverishly to find out where these are. This House Bill 3198 will allow the Commissioners Court to have the jurisdiction of being able to find out where these injections, when someone applies for an injection well, they have to notify Commissioners Court with their intent and the direct locations so that the Commissioners Court would then in turn either vote to oppose or to support this location of this well, and then write a letter to the Railroad Commission that would be used in deciding if the wells would be permitted. I urge each one of you commissioners to actively get involved in your precincts. Don't leave this up to somebody in somebody else's precinct to take care of. You need to get involved in your precincts, represent the people who have voted you in, and support them. And I urge you to support this bill as well. We all know there's no doubt what the oil industry has done for us, and we're most grateful. However, we must continue to go forward with having responsible development, and when there is not a need for any more of these, and we're still putting in there that can cause harm to our water reservoirs and our aquifers, overpressurization of the zones. You know, these things in our rivers, we need to look at these things and take them seriously. So we have this bill coming up. Shelby, I'm not sure when it's coming up to be heard. They're talking about having a Karnes County Day up at the Capitol. Anyway, we'd like to have as many people to go in support of this bill as possible. Like I said, it's not to do away with these injection wells. It is to monitor them closely if they help the Railroad Commission see things as we're seeing them down here, because what you see on paper up there at the Railroad Commission is not exactly what you're seeing down here where it's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6 on the agenda, discuss accept fiscal year 15 EMS trauma systems funds check from Strack for the amount of $4,762. These funds will be put in the general funds in a specific line item to be expensed directly from that line item. This is authored by Dennis Kelly. Dennis?
Yes, sir. Just to give everybody a little refresher on STRAC is our Southwest Texas Regional Advisory Council on Trauma. The state has several of these advisory councils set up through the state as part of the governor's initiative on trauma reporting. They provide us with a wealth of knowledge and resources should we have a mass disaster, not just on the EMS side, but also emergency management side of things. These funds come from our trauma, they call it trauma reporting, but it's actually run reporting that we do every year, and that is all set up by STRAC. These funds are distributed to the racks, and then they're distributed out from the racks to the actual individual services. It's all based on a call number percentage that they come up with, and we use these funds are very important to us because we use them for things that come up throughout the year. It also pays for our rack dues and our patient reporting software that we use every year. That's it.
Any questions from Commissioners Court members? Comments? Appreciation.
Greatly appreciated. And these funds come from the state, and you know, and actually there were a few bills that were introduced that would have cut some of this funding. A lot of people pulled together and worked around to come up with some alternative ways to fund this for years to come. So we're greatly appreciative to those folks.
And Dennis, will you be in charge of the expenses with these funds, or
Yes, sir.
or
Yes,
used
sir.
out of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We need a motion to accept.
I suppose. I'm not sure you have to accept from it, but I guess you do. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second to accept the funds and for use as proposed. Is there any further discussion by members of the court? Anybody? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. All voted for. Motion carried. So, Dennis, if you'll keep us informed from time to time.
Yes, sir.
what's going on.
Certainly will.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we've got a next item, number 7, is to discuss act on advertising for bids to sell a 1997 Ford F-350 ambulance. Ambulance has previously been deemed surplus. Ambulance is in poor condition, authored by Dennis Kelly. I'm curious who deemed it surplus, y'all as...
Yes, sir.
as
It was
users?
deemed surplus by Commissioners Court, and it's been over a year and a half ago since we deemed it. We just haven't got rid of it because we've scavenged some parts off of it, electronic parts, buttons, sirens, things of that nature. The truck is in working condition. It does crank, it does drive. However, you know, a lot of the electronic components for the lights, the sirens are missing or do not work. Several of the The outside compartment doors do not latch anymore. And it's basically unusable as an ambulance.
And y'all are asking us to advertise for bids for
Yes, sir.
selling the.
Yes, sir.
And I say y'all and us, meaning
Yes.
the Commissioners Court, you're asking, and
Yes, sir.
it's the service that operates the ambulances that's asking them to be sold.
Yes, sir.
And,
How do you intend to advertise? You have a system?
I'm going to get with Luana and the sheriff because they seem to sell more stuff than I ever have here. So I'm going to make sure that I get it done by the book. The ideal is to advertise it in the newspaper and just take bids.
I was asking, does the ambulance personnel around the state have a website or something?
Not really. Most of them either do it by this method, they put it on eBay, sell them on Craigslist, things of that nature.
Just a thought along, on here, just a thought along this last court, we were discussing the surplus items throughout the county system, and I don't know how it was determined, or it wasn't determined, I guess, to dispose of all of these things that might be surplus. Does this fit into that any way, shape, or form? Is there enough, have we ascertained, is there enough items available to warrant an auction or anything like that? Does anyone know at this point? I mean, I'm not asking Dennis, I know he doesn't know, but Shelby,
I walked through that building yesterday with Sheriff. And the sheriff's department has overhead lights hanging in there. There's some TVs, there's some computer monitors, more computers. And I were talking the other day, we asked the judge's secretary to send out an email to all departments requesting that they inventory their departments and see if they had anything they want to declare surplus. Maybe we could have an all-out surplus sale just on the grounds of the court and just put them out there on a parking lot or someplace or in some facility and just have people come by and bid on them that way. I know that wreck room over there is a disaster waiting to happen because of the way it's been taken care of. People using it to store paint and all those kind of stuff, and it doesn't need to be in that room or outside that door, and the thing doesn't secure properly like it should at times. But there's a lot of stuff that we need to, as a county, come together and declare everything that we have a surplus and just put it out there for sale. I hope we can get a response for everybody by the first meeting in April. In set of time.
you're talking about responses from
Department heads. Of anything they have that's surplus. Road and Bridge may have something that's surplus to sell. Maybe the sheriff's office has some surplus stuff. Maybe there's a lot of things in that building, old election boxes that we don't even use anymore are being stored in there, and some other items. So there's a lot of stuff that we can probably get have some value of some sort to somebody.
It seems to me that we need to have somebody on the court in charge of getting it all together and proposing a way to dispose of it.
I think that's Shelby and
If the two of y'all would serve, I would appreciate it, and try to have something planned maybe by the next meeting where we could propose a resolution of this to get rid of the trash and try to make some sense out of what we're keeping.
well, while we're here, and many of the department heads are here, it would be very good if y'all could get that in your lists into Erica as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And then we'll survey that. I know the permit office has done a little looking and they're trying to determine what is useful over there. But then, Dennis, would it be indiscreet to ask you to hold off just for maybe a few days?
That would be fine.
Together?
That would be fine.
I mean, we're trying to, what hope would be, I think, is we can put as much stuff together as we can. See if it has any value and then determine how best to go with it, whether to have a public auction or just to call a dumpster.
Now, there's a desk over there that,
Yes.
it's the top of a table that was bought for water or something, something, and it's still in the box. Somebody just put it over there, I guess they had no place to put it after they got it. And it's just sitting there. And there's a plotter, I don't know if that plotter actually works or not, but to me, it's a pretty expensive piece of equipment.
I understand there's some laminators over there,
Laminators
some
as
other
well.
stuff. So like I said, determination if they function and if they're needed, go from there. But really the critical thing is that if everyone would survey and get us an idea of what you might have in your department that could be surplus or is surplus and needs to be disposed of, it would be very helpful.
And I think also everybody's got any type of records in there that some have been deemed, from my understanding, some have been deemed ready to destroy. And we may have to hire a shredding company or somebody to come in and just to clean, make some more room in there than people are going to actually go in there and look at their records and kind of take care of what needs to, what needs to be gone.
Sheldon. On that plotter,
Hang on just a second. I'll recognize you in just a minute. Anything else before that?
on that plotter and that laminator, make sure that wasn't donated to us by ACOG and we have to keep it for a certain amount of time. You might want to check with Sharon Chusser, because I think that might have been some of the reasons we didn't get rid of it, because it was donated to us and we have to keep it for a certain amount. I could be wrong. The county may have bought that, but double check before we get rid of that stuff.
Judge, I had one question. The second part of that, majority of what's in that other building is burn up computers, things like that are basically junk. But we have no recycling center or no place else to take that to. So I don't know if both commissioners could come up with a place, if they're not sellable to the public, what would you do with that stuff? Because I know we have probably a half a dozen computers that are burned up. They're no value to anybody, but we can't take them anywhere to recycle them.
But we have to deem them surplus and try to sell them to the public.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's something.
When we've had auctions that palletize used computers, and they're having people to come in and buy them for the public.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what's in that building over there, is just burn up stuff that we couldn't put in the trash, in other words.
Well, you've got some overheads there too, like 4 or 5 overheads, a back deal.
That's correct. There's some old police lights there and stuff that are obsolete or broken.
And there's some radio, there's some,
We can't sell them to the public.
and geyser counters are in there as well.
Yeah.
Like
We got
5
to strip
guys.
the red and blues out of there and then tell them, but it can be done.
Well, if our two commissioners will report back to us perhaps at the next meeting, and we'll try to start making plans. Don't anybody make your own plan. We don't have individual plans. Let's do it all together. And the two commissioners here will be the point people for the commissioners' court. If y'all need anything, be sure to get back to us. Any other comments or anything else from you?
No, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
If we need some direction from y'all, we'll feel free to give it any time.
Yes, sir.
We're not averse to receiving direction.
Could we get that, would that be right to bring that unit up here to the parking lot and park it somewhere, being we're gonna be starting construction, or?
I got with Dennis, I told him we can park it in Falls City, that way it'd be out of everybody's way.
Okay, that's not good.
Looking at the calendar, I believe our second Tuesday meeting will be the 14th of April. If I'm reading this correctly, if we could get those lists in by the 9th or 10th, it would surely be nice. It would give us a couple of 3 or 4 days to look at it and kind of put earlier is better, but at the very least by then, give us a day or two to look at it. So if the department heads and the elected officials from those departments could have those lists together by the morning of the 10th, it would be very helpful.
Any other questions or comments?
9th, okay, let's back it up a bit.
All right. Okay, with That said, we'll go forward then. Thank you, Dennis.
Yes, sir, thank y'all.
I don't see why we need one at this point. Let's move forward with getting this together and kind of some kind of plan of what we're going to do, and
Okay.
then we'll get a proper motion. All right. Item 8, we're to, I believe now, discuss, approve, disapprove plans for remodeling and construction of office spaces and restrooms at 111 North Brown, North Corn City, authored by PGR. Pete.
All right, we have a building that we purchased on 111 North Brown. It is right next to the permits building. The permits building is right in this area here. And this is the street right in front of it, here. Anyway, we have to be ready to put someone in there. I have a plan here that I've got drawn up, and I have some specifications written here. I'll briefly go through what the plan is, what's written on these papers here.
Whose plan is that, Pete? Where did the plan come from?
Zane and I planned this. I planned it. Zane drew the paper, and we drew this up
Okay.
on the computer.
The court hasn't approved any kind of plan
The
for
court
it.
has not approved it.
And,
I'm asking for some approval.
We have not even looked at a plan at this point, have we, as a court?
No, each member has gotten one yesterday to look at. We've had time to look at it today. I'm trying to look at it right now. Anyway, what the plan is, there's glass in front here. Plan to take the glass out, put one door in. There are 2 posts in the middle here that support the roof, and they will be left in, so we put a wall right down there and put a 5-foot hallway down the middle. This is divided off into 6 office spaces. There's approximately 1,400 square feet in here. We'll make 6 office spaces. There'll be a door in between offices where you could have one office on this side, one department on this side. It could all be one department, whatever. But anyways, different spaces with doors in between. In the back here, there'll be 2 restrooms, ADA restrooms. There is a little storage space here. We'll expand the storage space a bit. And the area up above is open, and there's room to put air conditioning units up there. So the air conditioning unit now is sitting there out here in the alleyway, and has a air handling unit in here. Our proposal is to put 2 2-ton units in here with return air coming back to the unit. So they'll be air conditioned separately. If one goes out, or if one isn't needed, it can be turned off. They work separately. There'll be outlets going into here, and this would be common space here where we'll get air conditioning from each one a little bit into the hallway. You'll need access to get to the top, so there's a stairway. It's on this side now where the restrooms are. That be moved, be put here, and be able to walkway across here to get into this area. Electrical now comes in right here, and it is old and obsolete. We're going to put the same electrical service will come in right there. We'll just move it right here to this wall, put all new electrical in here. And further sheet shows this shows, since the ceiling is in there, it is a tiled ceiling right now, which is acoustical tiled ceiling. We just leave that ceiling in there and strip it to 1x4s and sheetrock it. Leave it there for insulation. And actually, we're going to build a wall all around the outside edge abandon the electrical that's in there and insulate the walls around the outside, so it'll be fully insulated. So just surface mounted lights, some room for any recess to be in an 8-foot ceiling, or like a 7-foot 10-inch ceiling minimum. The floor will be leveled up and has ceramic tile flooring in it. I think the next sheet showed I have written in the specs to have at least 2 computer outlets in each office space and one in the back here to possibly make a small office space right there for maintenance with a computer outlet. And there were, I think I have written up 7 plugs for each office. And right at the end of this hall right here, there should be space for 1 copy machine to be shared by everyone right here in the back in this hall space. That's basically what the plan is. And
I have a question. Are you having any windows in there? Are you putting it?
in the front there's, it's now all windows. We're going to put 1 window in each front office. That's all. We're not intending to put any windows in here. And this other building is right against here. We're not intending to put windows in there.
But you're gonna put them in the front.
But
You're gonna put the windows in the front office.
1 window on each side of each front office.
Have the occupants been designated for that office space?
As of what?
Have the occupants been designated?
No. They can be used by individuals or one office. There's no one been designated for those. Just I'm trying to get it developed so we can have office spaces ready.
So are the office spaces in there all the same size? Because depending on what offices go in there, would be dependent on what space is necessary.
I don't have exact size. They're all 10 foot wide. This on this side of them approximately 14 and a half feet deep. These are 19 and a half feet deep.
Mr. Jordan, answer to your question, it's not been really, it's been discussed, but nothing settled yet. We've had discussions with TCEQ and the Railroad Commission possibly coming in a couple days a week. They would share maybe one of those offices, but it hasn't been decided yet.
Well, the basis for my question is, at what point will the commissioners each have an office for their constituents to come and visit with?
Can't say at this point that, at any point, because it's not been decided yet, I don't think. This court hasn't made any decision since I've been here about the use, and I don't believe that the use can be decided by one person or one maintenance man, or I think it's going to have to be the whole court, and everybody's going to have to take a look at it and discuss the usage that may be available for it. And it may be that we don't need it. You know, we didn't give a whole lot of thought, I don't think, to buying this building and the use we were going to make of it, although perhaps some of the people have got uses in their minds that nobody else knows about. I don't know about it. I know that. We need to have some discussion, an open discussion, the use we're going to make, if any, and what we may not need this building. I don't think we gave a whole lot of thought to the purchase of it before we purchased it, and we'll just need to talk further and see.
Well, Judge, I thought at the last workshop meeting we had where we discussed offices, we were going to start with the assignment of the courthouse and then work down to all other buildings.
Which we haven't done yet.
Correct.
We discussed that we have great plans, and we don't do well about carrying them out or looking forward and trying to decide what we're going to do, and 1 or 2 people will make a decision and decide that they've made the decision for the court, and that's not the way it works. And I know everybody knows that. but they just need to keep their minds on it, and we all need to look together at what we're doing and what we're trying to do, and what our needs are. We're not doing that very well right now, but hopefully it will get better. Any other comments or questions?
All right, then, this is my idea of how we could develop offices in this building. And get new electric in it, new air conditioning in it. And I'm asking the commissioners, what are your ideas? What would you like to say?
Well, I looked at the plans and I went over it, and there may be room for change here and there on a couple of things. The overall of the square footage on the offices, they're fine. But we're gonna need different office space maybe in time. I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna do once we do the courthouse and we do the annex and the other buildings. Not 100% sure how many offices we would occupy on this. But the plan on this, the square footage, the plans, the bathroom, the air conditioner systems, the electrical, the plugs, the lighting and all that. There's, like I said, there's always room for change. There may be something that we can change around. There's always going to be change in construction. But the actual plan itself for the building, it's fine. Square footage on it, the hallways, everything is fine.
Any other comments from Commissioner?
I would compliment Pete on the work he's done on it. Certainly, it was a great deal of thought put into it. And if you read the specs, he's gone through it fairly thoroughly. That having been said, I'm without an exact utilization plan, if you want to call it that, in terms of the long game, the what we put in the courthouse, what we're able to move here into this building afterward. I would favor probably accepting the plan, but at some time in the future, not just this minute. As Luana said a moment ago, our first objective is to figure how many we can shoehorn into the new courthouse or the renewed courthouse. When it's done, then figure what space we have in this building, and then at that point determine what other office space we need. It's unfortunate that the permit office is right next, well, I say unfortunate, the permit office is right next door to it. If we completed Pete's plan here and moved out of the permit office, which I think could be done, then you have an empty building there. What do you do with it? The position of it, if you tear it down, what I'm getting to in the long part of it is some of these buildings that have been bought over the years that are no longer needed need to be put back on the tax roll. We need to figure out how to consolidate all of this stuff and figure out how we can put some of this back on the tax roll rather than holding in this county property. But, in terms of what he's done, I think it's a great job. Whether we're ready to do it today or not, I guess is determined by what the other commissioners think.
I like the idea of storage in this one room because that could be the place everybody would put stuff to declare surplus when we declare surplus. If it's something we place in the storage room, we have a place to go with it other than just stick it in a room where record retention should be taken care of. I noticed here that the commissioner has an office in the maintenance department there. I guess, Pete, that would be, Commissioner, that would be your office, correct? Well, but currently, it says maintenance in commissioner's office. And then you've got the janitorial storage area also, which...
It's not appropriate.
That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, it shows storage in the shop area. You've got, it shows workbench and equipment and places to store vehicle, what have you. But, back again to what Commissioner Reynolds was saying is, I've always had emergency management has been a kind of thing for me. I like to have them have a house somewhere that they could actually work out of. 911 and the road and the permitting office, we move them into this building and maybe say shut that other building down eventually. I don't know, it's just a thought. But, this building has some potential. If we decide to get an HR person could be in there as well. I mean, it's, whatever we decide to do on that thing.
See, I thought about the same thing as you. So much in a state of flux, but you have two major offices coming in, HR and financial services, and like I said, we'll have to find a place for them now, but then at some point in the future, we may have to find another place for them, so,
And then again, the back to the TCQ and the Railroad Commission, they're wanting to come in, maybe have an office 2 days a week, and the question was asked one time, does TCQ need to be here? The information I've found, the last 18 months, they've had 158 requests for services in Karnes County, not counting the 38 responses that they've had to some type of a spill or something. So there is a need here, and I think there's a person that lives in Falls City that works for TCQ that would be the one that probably would be here a couple of days a week. And then Railroad Commission, they have some in the area too, so it just be kind of this, in and out thing, but at least for people to go to if they have a concern about something. But, Judge, any other comments that anybody wants to make? I want everybody to get whatever they got on their mind out in the public. This is not something that needs to be decided by one commissioner court member or two. It needs to be decided by the whole court, and it needs to be decided on as a result of some careful looking and decision making. Any other comments, questions? Anybody in the audience? You don't get too much chance to fire at us, but if you want one, well, here it is.
I would just recommend, as Lawan expressed, that you put some really long-term planning into it. I know the previous judge, I think she moved at least 3 times. And every time there was a setup of a phone line and a computer line. In fact, when she moved out of the regular jail, there was a building box, she rigged that up, then she moved into the juvenile building, then she moved over here, so I guess that was 4 moves. And every time it was an expense for computer setup and phone lines, so it's long-term planning.
You would think we would understand that, we've done it so much, but unfortunately, I think we still are trying to understand, so, we will keep that in mind, though, I assure you. What?
I said juvenile probation, maybe they could end up one day moving or something, I don't know. Maybe the ag people could come back into this building too, and if we had 2 buildings, we could shut down. It's just a
Perhaps we need to have a work session where, we meet and have the different departments appear before us and discuss what they think their plans are, or what they think their needs are, and do some discussion of that, just pure discussion and nothing else, and see where we are here.
have something?
I know when Zane was here, he talked about knocking that curb out and making parking, because apparently there's no parking in that area. Y'all decided about parking, because we were going to remove all that concrete and take it out of there. But we're going
Is Zane gone now?
to turn it up.
We've advertised.
No.
Who are they supposed to go to? To you or to somebody else, the applications?
They can get the job description from me, but the applications are supposed to come here
To the Commissioner's Court?
to your office,
To
yes.
my office, which, as far as I know, none have made an appearance in my door.
Well, the one that came before, it was actually advertised in the paper that came to my office. I gave to Pete that next day.
Okay. All right.
I would think,
Back on for offices spaces, I know DPS has also brought to y'all's attention. I didn't have time to meet with them last week because we were gone to training, but I know we have 6 desks for them. 6 spaces at the new sheriff's office. And I know they are supposed to bring 2 more troops in, and they were asking for more room, and I was just wondering, I don't know if,
I had a conversation with the sergeant that we didn't necessarily resolve anything, but my understanding from that conversation, and I could be mistaken, was that they would be satisfied staying where they are down here in this building. I'm not sure who is for that or against it and don't really much care. If you've got something to say it.
I was just want to make sure that y'all know that I really do need a more accessible place for voting. So if y'all leave them down there, like I said the other day, I'm not asking for that space. That space is perfect. But if you leave them down there, then we need to consider another space that would be perfect for the voting public as well when that occurs.
Well, didn't y'all make special alterations to the jail facility to house DPS?
when I first took over in 2013, the new sheriff's office was made where they only had 3 desks for DPS. I met with Lorraine and we discussed that DPS was asking for more room. So I got with her and we agreed to knock down a wall and to add 5 more spaces. So we had 4 more spaces so it could accommodate them. And I was thinking that was enough room for them, but then we meet with the sergeant, and I met with the sergeant before to let him know what I was going to do, and after what I had discussed with Lorraine, and they agreed, but then they were asking for 2 more desks. And there's
not one of these new troopers going to be licensed away.
2 of them.
2 of them. They don't work in the office anyway. If they need office space, it's minimal.
They have since changed their opinion of that, Commissioner. They have said now that they are requesting office space. And that they have come down there and measured the office at the new jail we modified, and they're saying it's not adequate.
But the license and weight troopers are not in the county every day. They're someplace else, in task force or something. And I don't think you're gonna have 6 troopers in one office or 9 troopers or whatever we had at the same time.
Yeah, 4 highway patrolmen and now 2 license and weighted secretaries, so they need space for 7. And they're saying what the modifications we made is not adequate, so they're not gonna come there. He's already made this decision, so either they remain there or they come somewhere else.
They're satisfied being where they are. The sergeant told me last week.
Right, they're not satisfied with the space we want to give them, Joe.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But it's an easy solution, it seems to me, if they're satisfied with the space they have down here. And there's no reason that I'm aware of, although there could be some that people don't always disclose to me what their innermost thinkings are about how they're going to restructure this building and the use of it. But I don't see why, if the DPS fits in the place they are now, and the sergeant told me they did and that they were reasonably satisfied. I may be mistaken, I don't think I am, that they would be satisfied staying where they were, and that's what?
Well, I was going to wait till you finish. I just want to make sure, we've been talking about it. It's not about personal preferences. It's about what's best for the county as a whole. So I just want to make sure that that's remembered, because, whether they want to move or not, don't we as a county designate the space that they can use? Just insane.
We can, but we don't go out of our way to make them unhappy and not have a usable space for them.
Well, I understand that.
I think we ought to have can we just have a workshop on this issue?
Because we need to bring the DPS sergeants in, if we have to get their captain here, whatever, to get the right story, because I know they've got their copy machine that belongs to the state, and they'll have to move it. But, you know, the county's going, in my opinion, the county's going to a lot of expense for creating that facility for them at the jail. And I don't know if each one has to have a desk that they call their own. Because when I worked at the state, we all shared a desk, and that was just one thing about it. They don't work in there all the time, but nevertheless, but I like to have workshops where we can discuss this. Set that preference.
I think that's a great idea. The other item I would pitch out, and I haven't gone through the jail, so I don't know, and I know, well, she just came in, probably would be contentious, is there room to move one of the JP offices to the jails?
It would have to be two, because that's precinct 2.
Excuse me?
It would have to be JP 2, that's precinct 2.
Okay,
That's precinct 2.
I understand that. In other words, this is my feeble thinking, is if we're in the long game, let's see how many things we can put in what we've already built and designed that are in this building. And I kind of agree with Shelby. I would like to accommodate DPS. However, as he mentioned, apparently the county's gone to some extensive expense to provide them a space, and now they apparently don't like it. My first thought would be, how many square feet do they have here? How many square feet would they have over there? If it compares, they move. If it doesn't compare, we take a look at that. The second thing would be, if we can move a JP office out of here, we can free up more space to move someone else here and get out of some of these other buildings that we can get rid of at some point in time. And like I say, this is way down the road, but it would make more sense to me than what I see a little bit, and if you'll pardon me, is everybody trying to draw off their little circle, and I want to be here, and I want to be there, and I want to be so-and-so. And that's nice. I realize I'm the freshman of this deal, but wherever you stick me, I don't care. That's where I'll be. And that should be the case for most everyone, as long as it's a serviceable thing. In relationship to Pete's plan for this, and I know he's anxious with this, I would suggest that we accept the plan under advisement for future action once we determine what departments are going to move where and when, rather than being a little bit perfunctory and designing space when we're not exactly sure what the present utilization is. They've done a great job on it. I'm sure it'll be probably what we use, but maybe not today.
You know, I ask myself, how many deputies you gonna have in your room, working in your area, in your office space?
Sitting in that tent, they're gonna share desks, they're not.
Yeah, so I see that, I don't, you know, they're doing the same function basically. I just fail to see how, you know, you're gonna have two that are not in there all the time. They're out there weighing at the scale, so I just don't see I just don't understand the thing. But at the workshop, I think we'll get a lot of answers. Well, you know, what I'm saying is, Judge, is that you've got 6 or 10 deputies that are on a shift at a time, sharing an office. And we've got what? How many deputies do you have? 30? 20?
Yes, sir.
How?
Yes, sir, 30.
30. So it's all in shifts. People are in and out at different times. So I just fail to see how that can be a reason for it to be so crowded that we all can't work out of that same office. I don't understand. But I'd like to first have that workshop maybe April the 9th, maybe get the sergeants over here. I don't know, just a date to throw out.
April 9th, is that a
Thursday.
Is that a work day that all the courts can be available? April 9th.
That's next Thursday.
What?
Next Thursday. That's next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Thursday after, right?
Yeah,
Next Thursday.
not this coming Thursday, but the
Next
next.
Thursday.
Okay, that's fine, whatever. You pick your day, I'll be
That
here.
suits you.
I have to check my doctor's schedules, but
Well, I do
it's,
too,
But it feels like it, I don't remember that day, but it could be there and I'm not remembering.
Well, we'll check it.
I can get back with you by this afternoon if you need me.
Whatever day y'all choose.
And I understand the sentiment that, you know, this is the space that we've made for you. But if you have a department that does not want to be there, or if you put someone in a place where others don't want them to be there, or there's not appropriate space for them to be, that creates a problem. And so that is something to be considered as you decide where people are to be.
We're aware of that. I hear you. Any other comments before we move on? That said, let's move on to the next item of business. Item 10, I believe, is the next one. This 9.
Well, since,
We discussed 9.
since number 8, we apparently not ready to make a decision today, then, we're discussing number 9.
But you know, I think it does, Warren, because we're coming to the into the budget process. I mean, we should have started already, in my opinion, but we need to get an idea what it would take. Doesn't say we have to accept the bid, but at least we get an idea what it would take to do that building. If not, we'll be running at the last minute trying to put somebody in or whatever. Unless you want to wait for the bidding till after the workshop, I don't know, but.
No,
I think you need to wait till after the workshop because you may totally revamp these plans. Half of that building may become a meeting room.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, but we need to, I don't want to get caught up to a point where we're right at the budget time and we're having a scamper for what we're going to do.
We're going to have to scamper because it's late now.
We're about to need to start.
if y'all were interested in getting a bid on it, we could get a bid without walls down the middle, have 2 large sides there and divide it later or something like that. I don't know what y'all want to do. It's up to the commissioners what they want to do.
Well, if you're planning a workshop in 10 days, hopefully at that point in time, we can be pretty firm in some decisions of where's who going and what size spaces are needed.
I doubt it, but I hear you. And perhaps you're
Wishful
right.
thinking?
We can make every effort to make some progress.
I would move that we table 8 and 9 pending the workshop that we'll go through and bring it up as an action item sometimes later.
Next, we were talking next Thursday?
Yeah, we will have an action. That'll be a workshop, so the action item would be then probably later. Right, later, the next court meeting that'll be following.
Okay.
If y'all are thinking that you don't want to fall back behind because of the time, instead of a workshop meeting, it could be a special call meeting, so y'all could act if there is a decision made at that meeting, so y'all could send out for bids.
Well, we might schedule one day,
Just a reminder, y'all, if y'all want to act on it. that
well, we'll discuss that. Any other comments before we move on? Move on to item 10 of the agenda. Discuss, consider act allowing P2 Emulsions Plant LLC to be utilized in a test for Karnes County roads. Offer Shelby.
P2 Emulsions is a company that
they're the only ones that do that particular thing.
They have their patent thing over there. They call it sole source, and it's kind of like it's a soil stabilizer, but yet it's also a dust control. But yet in their recipe or their product, they do something different, and it's patented that actually could save the county a lot of dollars with road base and some other information. I've got David Williams and Paul, yeah. That's worse than Richie Gabba. But anyway,
they're here representing the company. I've talked with Mike Wozniak, the road manager, as well as David Underbrink, the engineer, and I guess it's better if they could explain their deal, their product, because what I'm wanting to do is for them to do a test on 2 or maybe 3 county roads of the road manager's selection, and to see how this stuff really holds up. We've been incorporating cement into the road to stabilize it, to make it hard, harder of a base. My understanding, this material here will cut the amount of base you have to apply to the road, as well as it'll take care of the issue of you don't have to apply the cement. So we could be saving a lot of dollars over time. And of course, maybe one of these roads, I like to do, just leave it, after they do it, would leave it open for regular truck traffic to drive over, or cars, wherever you want to have it. And another one, I would like to pave right away after we would apply the stuff. So David or Mike or all of y'all want to come up and discuss it or explain to the court?
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. My name is David Williams, and my company is P Squared Emulsions. We manufacture specialty asphalt emulsions for specific uses in road building. Today I'm here to tell you about our asphalt-based stabilization product. No one else in the state of Texas can make our product. This allows us to do business as a sole source provider. I'll tell you a little bit about how our stabilization works. It is blended into your existing road base and acts as a water barrier and a very flexible, very hard base. By using our product, you can cut out the need for bringing in other base materials. You can add material where you would still need to add material where you have low spots, but you do not need to bring in truckload after truckload of base material. This saves your county money by reducing materials brought in, and also will cut your time to set up your roads. We can stabilize a mile of road in a day, whereas in the past it would take you at a minimum 3 weeks the way you're currently doing it by hauling in material. P2 stabilizer arrives by tanker, and then it is attached to your reclaimer where it is directly injected into the road and mixed in. It is then compacted with a sheet foot roller and pneumatic roller until the sheet foot roller walks out of the road. In other words, where the road has gotten very hard and the sheet foot is walking up on top. The road is then ready to seal coat or pave in any fashion you wish. Now the pad foot marks will also have to be cut out after it's gotten hard, and that can be done with the reclaimer or your maintainer. This process reduces staffing hours and also allows your road to stay open to traffic while we're doing this process. In other words, when the train of equipment is moving down the road applying our stabilizer, vehicles can move around it and the road is allowed to stay open. They can simply drive around the equipment as the product is being reclaimed, and by the end of the day, we will be finished with an entire mile of road in one day. This is causing less traffic problems and fewer complaints from your citizens. Another huge advantage from our product is that we don't have to have water trucks. And water is very precious, and I understand, especially in your county with the amount of water that's been being used. You do not have to have a water truck on site when you're using P2 emulsion. Commissioner Seidenberger up here in Guadalupe County allowed me to use him and use his name. He wrote about us in his newspaper. He wrote an article about the fact that we don't have to have a water truck on location, and that's a very big selling point to my product. We also are the only vendor of our kind that stays on the job site with your people every day until the job is done. We do this as a service, and it helps us build relationships with the county employees, are building, working on your roads, as well as making sure they follow procedures for the best results possible. We would ask that you vote for us as a sole source supplier. And I thank you for your time and any questions you might have.
I don't fully understand. What do you supply? A truck for the injection material, and the county supplies a maintainer and cheap foot roller, and what else?
And a reclaimer.
And a reclaimer.
Which is the reclaimer is the big machine that grinds in. It's been grinding your roads. You guys have already been using one some over here, I understand. The reclaimer is the machine that blends my emulsion into the road base. It's the great big T-Rexes you've seen, or the CMIs, or the Bomags. And basically my tanker comes in, big tanker, 6,000 gallons, 1,500, 6,000 gallons, is hooked up to that direct injection part of the reclaimer, and they simply push it down the road. So it's directly injected into the base, whatever base you have there, ground in, blended in, and the pad foot roller is right behind that equipment, and the pneumatic roller to compress it and make it hard like that. And it's that simple.
So you're asking for a test run, is that what we understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And that would be, and you may have explained it if you did, pardon me.
That's okay.
Listening, but how big a test, a mile, 2 miles, half a mile?
The road that we measured with your road administrator is County Road 344 over here, which I believe it starts as East Calvert, I believe. That road is 3.8. I might. Yes, sir. 3.8 miles.
I've read your material indicating the non-bid process on a sole supplier.
Yes, sir.
So I understand what you're trying to tell us, but what is if this works, and I'm not questioning that it wouldn't, if it works, what would be the county's cost per mile or per foot or for whatever if we decided to go further?
With your roads, and this one in particular that we've looked at being 24 feet, because of all the traffic you have a little wider roads down here, plus they've just been beat to pieces, so they're wider. Approximately $49,000, somewhere in there, a mile. Yes, sir.
In order for the road to not deteriorate after you've done your process, if they don't chip seal the road right behind you, what happens? Does it just go away? I mean, does the traffic beat it up? What happens?
That road can stay open for a while without anything being done to it, and that's what we talked about with the commissioners earlier, to do another test somewhere just to let people look at how long that road lasts just with my emulsion in it. And we've got a product that we would call a prime coat that we would shoot over the top of it just to lock the dust and everything down. I have a road over in Austin County that's been open a year this month that he just actually wanted to stabilize for dust control. There's really nothing out there you can just put over the top of a dirt road. I don't care what anybody tries to say. There's just not. That lasts. Our stuff gets into the fines of the dirt and blends with it and stabilizes all of that and stays very hard. We would prefer, and it would be prudent if for the county to go ahead and seal coat and pave that road within a few weeks of the base being set up. That's just kind of the proper way to do it. So if potholes do start coming back a little bit, you want to get those sealed over.
So it's incumbent upon the county, road and bridge department, to get in there as quickly as possible, seal coat this road to make sure that the road does not deteriorate and it has a fairly long longevity. Is that correct?
Well, I can't really speak for what the county does after what I do, but I will tell you this. My stuff will last a long time open. Longer than what we have.
I was going to say, you mentioned a year in Austin County. What kind of conditions?
It started to pothole a little bit, They didn't prime it completely like we probably should have. But I get back to the commissioner's whole idea over there was he just wanted dust control. His citizens were having trouble with dust. So that is a very long time for a road to remain open of any kind. It really is.
What traffic does it have on? Is it high traffic?
Nothing like here.
Nothing like
Honestly, it's ranches. There's some farms, ranches.
So what are we
there.
talking a percentage, 10, 20% compared to our roads that are being traveled?
I can't really say. I mean, I don't know how long to say that this road could be left open with
The truck traffic you have right now, one of the good things about an asphalt emulsion is that the more compaction you have, the better the road's going to be. And so with this big truck traffic, you'd think it would be a negative, but it actually turns out to be a positive for everybody because it actually pulls the asphalt to the top.
Mr. Underbrink, you're our authority engineer. Would you care to comment?
Well, I always appreciate an opportunity to stand in front of you guys. There's a lot of products that enhance pavements. Theirs is one of them. Their formulation is, I suppose, patented so that they're sole source. But there's other products, other emulsions. Essentially what they're doing is they're taking a product, they're mixing it into the soil, the product acts like a glue. Okay? For lack of more technical terms, that's what's going on. The real question, and the reason we would run a test section is to see how it performs. Well, there's a lot of choices in how you go about using it to figure out a good pavement that would last. If we just simply add this into what we're doing already, obviously the cost goes up. If we try to add this in but omit something else, then we might be able to keep the cost about the same or even reduce the cost, the overall cost per pavement. So one of the things that we can't forget is we have a traffic load that's awesome. Okay, it's big trucks, lots of 18-wheel trucks, and we've got pretty severe conditions compared to other places. So one of the things I'd like to do is still build up the road like we always do, but then look at ways to reduce the cost by incorporating their product. And it might be a good idea to do a stretch of road with their product and perhaps do another product on the same road to compare and be able to look at not necessarily an untreated portion, but a piece of road that gets treated two different ways, or take their product and do two different things with it, do a mile and a mile. So there's a lot of choices, but I'm not against going ahead and giving a test run on their product.
Well, I'm in agreement that we're pretty much at a sum zero as far as the test goes. So, I don't disagree. I think anything we can do to benefit and enhance certainly would be beneficial. Now, once the test is over with and we get to the dollars, then like you say, we need to take a look and see if there's some way that we can do this without boosting the cost substantially.
And I have not spent a lot of time looking at those ideas, but I'm sure there's lots of choices that we could test a couple.
We, and also this company and the county has the ability to purchase this stuff through the Tarrant County Co-op. So we'll get a little break there. But, we use probably, $80,000 a mile on cement, and that's not counting the water and the other stuff that we use. So to me, I think we need to try this just to see that we can save some money. We don't have to use the product. Well, I understand this product is we could use it without even in some roads without having to build up the road at all. Just we can use it for a stabilizer or a dust stabilizer, dust suppression. There are some roads that we never get to. And they're being torn up by the industry that we're not getting to. But yet, if we can find something that'll give us, in my opinion, if something will give us 4 or 5 months of worth of travel on a road without being torn up, it's to our advantage.
Generally, if you're going to mix in a product like this, you'd want to grab the top 4 inches.
4 inches, right.
and mix in that much product within the top 4 inches. If you had 6 inches that you could go mix, that would be better. But we want to get over the tops of the culverts, so we need to make sure there's enough material to miss the culverts as we go over the top.
But ideally, you want to pave right after you do this stuff on the road. I mean, that's the ideal situation, but we're not going to have that ideal situation in town of Mountain.
I agree with what you're saying, yes.
Mike?
Well, County Road 344 is gonna be that evacuation route, or however you wanna call it, that bypass. That's one of the roads, it's 3.8 miles from Alec Brown to 791, from 792 to 123. The other one is 153, it's a mile long, and both of those are getting 2-course pavement on. But as we were talking, we were gonna go to 184 and just put it down on the actual base that's down there right now and see what kind of time frame we get out of that one without doing nothing to it except mixing the product in. And the other issue we've got to look at is if we do go with the product, then we have to look at getting the reclaimer, from ABN at $500 an hour to put this stuff into the ground and schedule everybody into it. So, there's an additional cost as far as actually renting the equipment to do this.
We don't own a reclaimer.
That's correct.
I like the idea Mr. Underwood came up with, some sort of a segmented test where you do this, you do some concrete, you do a competitive product, you do a control strip. So you see, and I realize that puts off an ultimate decision for a period of time, because until you have some traffic on it, you're not going to be able to tell which product or which system, if you want to call it that, is performing the best. But in the long term, it might be the better alternative where we could get the most bang for our buck.
Yes, sir. We do have 2 roads that we have Portland in. That's 206 and 388. They're fixing to be seal coated here too. So those are the test patterns there. We have 165, we use grid in there, at 6 inches of base. We have a test pattern there. And then this will be our 3rd test pattern as far as what we
Okay, do we have a roughly equivalent traffic count on all of these?
We don't have a count, but they're all truck traffic.
I was going to say that's the thing, if you don't have a equivalent traffic count on each one, then it's pretty difficult to ascertain where you're at.
I have a couple questions for both of you. David, do you do chemical comparisons as an engineer of this and other products? And the other question that I believe y'all said, you use less base material. How much less base material can you use if you use this product? Did you say that?
Yes, sir. We can grind in whatever is there. Now,
All right.
as your engineer,
if you're putting a 12 inch, can you use 8 inches of base and get the same effect? Or
we would like to stabilize 6 inches as a rule of thumb for us. That's kind of our ideal stabilization rate and depth. Except where you do have culverts and things, where you raise your reclaimer up and go across that, or however we need to do or address that. I don't know, you add material there. Any place that you've got at least 6 inches for us to grind in, we can grind it in, and we can increase the rate of our product by increments a little bit if we think we need to in places. But injecting 6 inches is our ideal rate. And 6 inches is a lot less than 12.
Okay, would you say, in other words, are you saying that 6 inches will hold up as good as 12 inches of concrete stabilized?
That is what we're saying.
I've kept track of the cost from October to February, just the cost that the precinct tracker provides, which is the labor, equipment, and material cost. Through February, and I haven't got the numbers for March yet, but through February, just on materials alone, we have spent $4,504,963. The total cost is, for the whole year so far, has been over $5.8 million, about $832,150. 77% of our cost has been tied to material, 77%. So that's the only reason I'm looking at trying to get us more money so we can use to try to get some of our roads in check. You know, that's a lot of money, and I mean, I don't know if y'all track, y'all follow it like that or not, but to me, 77% of so far what we spent has been just on material, and that includes transportation of materials as well. And the transportation cost is probably half of that cost.
It is. Going back to your question, Mr. Yar, we don't look so much at the chemical analysis of the products as much as we look at the mechanical properties. So when you put the product in and get it blended and test it in the laboratory to see what those properties are, we use those results, those test results, to try to design a road. So it's interesting to know what the chemical analysis is, but we rely on the actual physical properties of the material once it's been modified to make a decision on how to use it.
Y'all are agreeing with what he's saying, the two of y'all.
I think I speak for at least two representatives of people who live on bad county roads. I've been listening to the same thing for the last 2 years. And why we're chasing those oil companies, I do not know. There's a lot of county roads out here that are not getting torn up by 18-wheelers every day. And nothing, we're not making any progress. If you ask Mr. Mike for a report in the county roads where there's no truck traffic and the progress that we've made out there, I doubt that he can give you an answer that you can understand. Now, these gentlemen are offering a process. And again, I do not understand why we're chasing the oil field. You know, you got probably another 400 miles out here where residents of this county live, or the preponderance of them do, and they receive no benefit other than we just keep kicking that can down the road. I mean, I'd like to see some progress. I mean, after 2 years of we're going to seal coat this, we're going to seal coat that, and Mr. Wozniak still has not provided a plan for this county. We haven't got a clue as to which way we're going. With that, you know, I would like to recommend that you give them a try. But, you know, to work someplace where the constituents live and they're going to see some benefit from the activity in the Eagle Ford Shale. I mean, that's where you're getting 90% of your money. Thank you.
What I do when I'm out there, I handle the complaints that come through the office. 90% of the complaints that come through the office are on the road that the trucks are there because they're tearing up the road. We don't chase oil field traffic. We chase the complaints that come through the office. We've been having rains.
Nope.
I get 50 complaints over the same road we just finished blading the week before. I mean, it's a repetitious thing. And the reason why we can't get to these roads over here is because I'm having all these complaints that I gotta handle, that the oil field is tearing up and residents do live on these roads. So I have to take care of those roads just as well as everything else. I got 10 blades running in the county right now, and they're just constant. And now they're talking rain this weekend and everything else. And everything we do just kind of just goes away in the wind because we're back to the same solution. Shelby went to 189 with us, and man, that road was tore up. So we have to go back and fix that road so people can build it. We got Marathon's going to pay to fix that road since they were part of the problem. And that's what we're doing. We're making them, well, we're not making them, we're telling them they need to fix what they damaged. And so far, they have not complained. It's a process that I have to deal with all the complaints. I cannot run around and do something that's not tore up yet, because the fact is, we've had a wetter year than normal.
Mrs. Hall.
Yes, I've been around for 6 or 7 years on this same issue, and it's a drier year than normal. It's a wetter year than normal. There's always an excuse. We've been through 3 years of drought, and I'd actually watch them come out and blade my road about 2 days before it would rain. So that would be 12-inch ruts right after it rained. It never failed that, you know, for 2 or 3 years we wouldn't even see a blade, and then they bladed a couple of days right before it rained and wondered if they'd even watch the forecast. But the reality of it is we can keep running blades and we can keep doing it the same old way. But when you look at some of the paperwork that I've gotten from the Road and Bridge Administration office, and I look at what you would call a plan. For instance, we have a seal coat plan for 33 miles worth of road. His 5-year plan is haul out 100 miles worth of road, seal coat 33 miles. I drive down these roads all the time. In fact, I drove the road from Precinct 4 the other day quite extensively. One of the 1747 roads, the top 3 roads, is County Road 326, and I can't imagine, Shelby may have a number of the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of material we have put on that road. And it's one of the top 3 roads of our $7.7 million package that all of that money goes on the top 3 roads, $7.7 million. Shelby's talking about $4.5 million worth of road. Nothing ever gets done to maintain or preserve that material. I have watched roads and watched roads be what you call haul out, only for 1 year later, there is nothing left of the road whatsoever. It might have been bladed off in the bar ditch. That's usually what ends up happening. We have no plan for a future that is going to maintain spending all this money. We can keep spending money and we can keep throwing material on the ground and we can keep blading. But if you don't do something and make the road somehow seal coated, whether there's truck traffic or not truck traffic, personally I think Mr. is correct. If you put them on the truck traffic roads without using this special material, that's fine, but that's where all your money's going to go. And there are hundreds of miles of roads out there that don't have that type of truck traffic. So as they did in Goliad County, when they had a big gas play, they held the companies a little bit more accountable. I think there has to be some diplomacy on the legislative end of making Marathon and some of these companies more accountable. There has been some actually test roads done in DeWitt County. Go over there and see what they've used. I think they've used some GeoGrid. I think Mr. Underbrink knows what they've done on a couple of trial roads in DeWitt County. But the concept that we can spend $400,000 or $500,000 a mile on a large portion of our roads, are we going to keep doing that, spending all of our money, and then the rest of the roads, at the end of the ballgame, we end up at ground zero, they've never been addressed? Because there are a huge number of roads out there that do not have this type of traffic that can be addressed. And you want to talk about chasing the claim calls, we quit calling a long time ago. So, you know, if we just deal with it, because it's not going to get any better. Been here 26 years. It's worse than it's ever been, and you don't even bother to call. I would ask that you hold accountability, that if they put some material down, do something with it instead of letting it just blow away or be bladed away. Make some kind of permanent decision that something be done with the money spent.
I would certainly agree with Mrs. Hall. Precinct 4, especially the non-Eagleford part of Precinct 4, is just absolutely forgotten about. I know I had at least one constituent who has written 2 or 3 letters. The neighbor has, and I realize it's a not heavily traveled road. There are only 2 or 3 people down it. However, I believe that the law says that laws or rules have to be applied equally. So the fact that there's only 2 or 3 people and there's no truck traffic down it doesn't do it. What Mrs. Hall said about the oil companies, I would agree with. Some of them, I believe, are pretty good about working with you. Others aren't. I don't know what is within the parameters of the Commissioners Court to do in terms of pressure on them, but I think that perhaps there would be some way of looking at what we could do to encourage them to participate a little bit more. And I realize right now oil's at $47 a barrel, and their interest in participation is probably a lot less than it was when it was at 100. But they didn't do any more at 100 than they're doing at 47. So this is it. And as far as 326 goes, yes, whatever money was spent on it is just almost wasted, because it is worse, if anything, for the wear. And I think that's one supposed to be paid. Isn't that the case in 326 budget?
326 The Kennedy side has been total rehab. 326 from the San Antonio River Bridge to Rungy gets a 2-course pavement on it. We just finished accepted the bids on the seal coat for the 33 mile that she was talking about, and hopefully we'll get that done by May if everything works out.
But the 326 from Kennedy to the San Antonio River is in total rehab. It's been in total rehab for several years. You put tons of material on it, and it's just potholes again.
Well, that's right.
It's a
From San Antonio
1727
River to
road.
Kennedy, you can't tell any difference this year from last year. I don't care how many truckloads have been put out there.
And it's actually number 3 on 1727. It should be, it's one of the ones that gets $7.7 million on it.
You want to go into that?
326 is on the
Okay, I thought we were
TIP
talking about the
program,
emulsion.
and it's scheduled to be bid probably early May. Take bids in early May. We're going to come to you for authorization.
We've kind of gotten off the railroad
I was
here.
gonna ask y'all for a vote.
Yeah, we need to,
If you could-
I have no problem with accepting a test. I would like for it to be done in such a manner that gives us something to compare to rather than a situation where we can't get an adequate comparison out there. Now, I certainly agree with Mr. Yarder and Mrs. Hall that, there are areas in the county that are being missed, and I'm not going to run road and bridge. I don't ask to understand. It's a difficult job, but somehow or the other, some of these secondary roads that are not heavily traveled have to be attended to at some point. Okay, enough said. You got a motion?
Yeah, I move that we allow P2 in motion plant LLC to be utilized in a test for Karnes County roads to be determined by road manager as well as Mr. Dunn and Brink. I think we said it was 326 for sure. I mean, not 326, 344 and 184 and 153, those 3 roads. That's my motion.
He's wagging his head.
I'll second that.
That's my motion.
Any discussion? Board members? If not, we'll vote, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All voting for, motion carried. We're gonna take about a 10-minute break for a few minutes and, rest. 2 or 3 of us that are ailing need to ail at a different place. So, 10 minutes, if you will. Call the meeting back to order again. We're on item, I believe, number 11 of the agenda today. Discuss, approve, disapprove, transferring unit number 311 2012 Chevy 1-ton pickup with utility bed, and the VIN number, the courthouse maintenance, and unit 312 2013 Chevy half-ton pickup VIN number, and the special projects office, both authored by Michael Wozniak. Tell us why we're doing this.
Okay, we discussed as soon as we got our new vehicles that we would transfer the 1-ton crew cab with the utility bed to the courthouse maintenance because they did not have a vehicle for the supervisor and the employees. So we've given them that truck to them, and then we don't have a permit officer no more, so we're going to transfer the other pickup to the permitting office, and we're going to leave the radios and everything in them, so this way, if they ever need to contact us or whatever, they can call us on the radio.
Well, Mike, we still have a Ford pickup up there, don't we? The permitting office at Red Ford.
That's the one you're getting. That's the one right here that we're transferring to you.
It says Chevrolet.
No. Chevrolet is the 1-ton.
They both say Chevy.
Oh, okay, that's a misprint. It should have been Ford. It's a Ford.
Okay.
Which one's the Ford?
The Unit 312.
The half-ton?
The half-ton Chevy pickup. Yeah, that's a misprint.
So that's the red pickup?
That's the red one that
Sure.
Rondo was running.
Okay.
I'm not real sure why we need that as courthouse maintenance. You wanna
Yes, we have a pickup in the budget for courthouse maintenance, is that correct, Juan?
Yes.
And instead of spending the full amount for a new one, we're gonna take the new one. Now, the reason we need it, they are allowed to get mileage. Joe was allowed to collect mileage when he drives from building to building. Well, he said he didn't want to mess with filling out the mileage and collecting, and when Zane filled out the mileage, he says he always got cheated on the mileage because they took off from wherever building he was to somewhere else. And we told him we'd get him a pickup. So we had it in the budget to get one.
For who?
For the maintenance department. Which Zane or Joe would drive. Joe will be driving from building to building. Joe drives his own pickup, carries tools in his pickup, goes from building to building. They will be needing to take lawnmower from wherever it is down to the jail to haul. I feel that they need a pickup.
What do they move to jail? Excuse me.
Well, when the new jail, they're gonna have, the maintenance department's gonna take care of all the outside landscaping, grass, whatever.
Our 1 day a week maintenance department? That's what we've got. Supposedly, I don't know what we have. That's what we have. I'm mistaken.
We have a 5-day-a-week maintenance department. There's people cleaning 5 days a week.
The janitors are,
Yes.
but the head of it is not. Isn't Zane the head of it? Or does he still work for it?
Yes, he does. Yes, he's still working.
1 day a week is what he works, is not.
Yes, sir.
Not any question about any other days.
We'll be hiring a new maintenance.
And he has another job now, does he not?
Yes, he works somewhere else for us.
Okay.
He won't be here forever.
Judge, this is a comment along with this. When the permit office gets us pickups that Mike refers to, which has been in use for that sort of purpose, the permit office presently has a pickup that has quite a few miles on it. It's still in decent shape. And Shelley mentioned this, we might want to take a look at putting it in the surplus stuff unless another department needs it. I don't know what the age is on it, I have to look, I'll find out, but I understand to me it's not that many miles, but for short miles it's 156,000 or something like that, is what I've heard. I don't know that authoritatively, but anyway, whatever it is one of the older units, and it could be surplus for another department if they need it, or it could be considered as surplus because maybe I'm wrong. Helen, are you going out very much? How often do you use it?
I use it every Friday, and then only if I have to go meet up with somebody over a floodplain issue.
And usually Juana's making her rounds a couple of days a week, so probably one vehicle to share is more than sufficient. So we don't need 2 vehicles, so when we bring this one in, I'd like to propose along with this, and it's not an action item on here, but anyway, that we will have a surplus pickup there. I'll put it like that.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other comments?
No. Just that when we had originally talked about it, we had talked about having a truck for the maintenance department here.
Yes.
That, and then the other one I know the other one goes, the red Ford half-ton to the project's office. And up in this, that's a 1-ton?
Yes. 1-ton crew cab.
Okay.
With the utility boxes on.
Yes, with the utility bed already on.
That would also be available for you to use if you have any need to move things.
For the refuse, the recycling center. I move we go ahead and accept these transfers as stated.
second it.
All right, there's been a motion seconded to approve the transfers as stated. Is that what the motion was? Is there any other comment or discussion? Any of the court? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All voted for.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Item 12, discuss act on selecting Karnes County Day in the Capitol offered by Shelby.
I was in the Capitol last week and Representative Sierra, he said he wanted to recognize Karnes County for being the #1 oil producer in the state, as well as Karnes County. We hadn't had a day up there in a while, they said. I'm asking the court to, they said select any day that we would like. I was hoping we could have a day whenever we have a bill up there they call it the Karnes County bill. It's on the steep saltwater wells, but that bill may be a while before it gets a hearing, and I'd like to have us set this Karnes County Day before the legislature gets too hot and heavy on budgets and other stuff. So just for discussion, if y'all would select a day, it'd be fine. It'd be open to the public to come to Austin, as well as an invitation be extended to the cities. But it'd be called Karnes County Day. I think it's to everybody's advantage if we can set this day for everybody to take advantage of it, go up in Austin and see what's going on and visit with everybody.
What do you suggest?
I would like to have like on any day in April. I thought about maybe April 21st. We don't have it's a Tuesday, or you want to sit on 22nd, it's a Wednesday.
Texas Independence Day.
Yeah.
Shelby, I thought, I might have seen a email from TAC, and they might have selected April the 15th.
15th is Texas County Day.
Not designated county. For all counties.
For all counties in Austin. But this is just a Karnes County, unless we do April 28th. I just want to do a day, we don't have no business that day, or before we get tied up into the budget, so just go on.
Well, your suggestion?
I'll say April 28th, and give us time to, because the Syria's office just got off the phone with them, they said that any day would be good. They just introduced it to the legislature and be over with.
What is the 20th, the Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Court members, any objection or a better day or?
21st, 28th, even Tuesdays, 28th is fine.
I'll make a move that we do April 28th as Karnes County Day at the legislature.
All right.
I'll second it.
Second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. All voted for. So will you contact our rep? Item 13. Discuss, approve, disapprove the names of the Karnes County Commissioners and judges that will be placed on the completion of the Karnes County Jail authored by Herb Hancock. Herb, why did you put that on the agenda?
Because I would like the commissioners to make the decision.
Why does it even need to come up? Why do we need to put names on the clock for anything?
Well, we can keep from doing it if that's what y'all want to do.
Well, I mean, what motivated you to put it on the agenda?
County, the architect asked me if the name was going to be placed on the building at the completion of the jail.
The one that's not speaking to me anymore.
Well, I don't know whether she's speaking to you or not, Judge.
Well, she hasn't since that day in court when she started crying, but.
Well, I'm not part of that, Judge. What I'm interested in is this. If the commissioners want the plaque there, fine. If they don't, there's nothing that says we have to do it. I asked to make a request for names, if y'all want names on the plaque. That's my request at this time. If you want to appoint somebody to part of the Commissioners Court to talk about it, or if y'all want to do it in a work session, I don't have any problem with any of that. It's customary in some of these buildings that they have the names of commissioners and county judges that participated in the construction of the building itself. And that's basically the reason for this request.
We didn't have an official cornerstone last week like that, did we?
I don't think so. I did not see that.
What's the pleasure of the court?
What would be apropos and normal if the court decided to put names on it? It's current setting court members or?
There's 3 county judges, and I believe there's 2 ex-county commissioners. I have seen it where the present sitting body is on there. That's the judge and the county commissioners that are present at the time of the completion. I've only seen one jurisdiction that listed all of the county judges and all the county commissioners that were involved in it.
I just soon have a sign that says Karnes County Jail built by the citizens of Karnes County and leave it with that to me.
That'll be fine.
I mean, that's my personal opinion.
I'm going to say they were the ones that put the resources into it to get it built, and the other was just a pipeline to get it done. So,
if that's what y'all want, that's what will be on the plaque, if there is a plaque. Do y'all want a plaque?
Okay, what do you think?
It don't matter. It don't matter to me. I've never had my name put up anywhere, so it ain't gonna make a difference.
You didn't think, Jay? The last time I saw it was on a poster in the post office.
They took it down the other day. It's not up anymore.
Yeah, Herb told me he's taking care of it. I would think that we, excuse me.
So my understanding is, y'all don't want to do anything, don't want a plaque, you don't want anything other than built by the citizens of Karnes County. Is that correct?
A recognition of the citizens of the county, I think, would be most apropos.
I agree.
Did somebody make a motion?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. All voted for. Item 14 on the agenda, discuss, approve, disapprove proposal for an interlocal agreement for OSSF, which is on-site sewage facility services between the county and the incorporated cities of Karnes City. This agreement will allow the county to offer OSSF services to residents inside the city limits where city services are not available. This agreement will have to be taken to each city for review and adoption, authored by Helen Hernandez.
Yes, sir. We have had an issue where there's residents inside the cities where the city cannot offer services. And it's taken almost 4 months for this resident to get service because we've been dealing with TCEQ to come in and help us with it. With this agreement, they would be coming through me, and we would take TCEQ out of the picture, and we would be doing it like we do for the county. We would charge the fee, have our inspector come in and do the inspections, and if there was any complaints, we would be taking care of those complaints. We would only get involved when the city itself is not able to do the service. They would then call us to come in.
I'm not sure I understand what keeps one of the cities from being unable to furnish those services.
There's a lot of areas in the different cities where there's no development, so they don't have the sewer lines that run out to those areas in their structure. And for them to do that, the cost would be on the citizen itself, the resident, to furnish all the material to be able to get that. They'd have to do like lifts and different things. It'd be a very expensive procedure for the resident to furnish all of that.
I don't understand why the city takes back.
That's not the way to run.
Well, they can run differently. They don't have to run the way they've run for 100 years.
Well, along those lines, Judge, you're probably well aware of the city of Karnes City wanting to annex some of the adjacent property here, and it's outside the city, and this is hearsay, so I'm not 100% sure, and maybe Hancock could verify, but understand once you're annexed, the city has 10 years to provide all of the services, i.e. water and sewer and what have you. During that period of time, if there should be any new construction, I would assume they would have to put in a septic system like Helen is talking about. Now, why the city can't take care of that inspection themselves, I don't know.
They don't have a certified installer to inspect the, and that's what it is.
They could get one.
They don't want to incur the cost of having to have.
Well, they want the county to pay the cost of taking care of the city, and the city's going to take care of themselves.
But the county has in the past, there was an ordinance when? 2006?
99.
99?
Yes, sir.
Well, the county agreed to do this, but
where's the ordinance?
Did you bring it with you?
I didn't bring it with me.
But anyway, I've had Mr. Matthews, who's a certified installer, he said this is getting to be a problem within the county, that some of these cities they haven't got their services to these areas yet, and they're not planned for a while, and so they have to have a certified state inspector to do all this stuff, a certified installer, and then we have our curtain guy, Liska, Mr. Liska, he's doing it now. This is, TCEQ is happy to do this. I mean, they're encouraging that we do this, so at least we know that the sanitation being installed, the services being installed, not city, are being properly done and not on a sliding scale where it creates problems later on.
Other than your salary and involvement with the county and these things, would all of the costs be borne by the city or the person getting the inspection?
Yes, sir. There wouldn't be any cost as far as the county doing anything. The resident itself would have to pay for the permit and the cost to pay the inspector and their installer. The county would not be responsible for giving them anything free.
So we'd only be out whatever your time and processing and stuff would be.
And also this comes into play as on occasions we've maybe got some big old money to do this stuff with, to help provide services, and some of these residents that qualify might be just at the edge of the city or something, and then we can, help these people with grant money. Judge, if you like, before you want to act on this, if you want to see the copy of the ordinance, we can get it to you, maybe put this back on the agenda for the 14th or the 7th. Is that next meeting?
14th.
14th. If you'd rather do it that way.
Well, I'd rather see what we're dealing with. I particularly don't feel like we should be furnishing the city's population with something that they should be furnishing their own.
Well, I think a lot of this has to do with too is, well, I know it has, I say it does, because some cities may not utilize this service at all. They may not want to do it at all, but the ones that, the smaller cities maybe that can't provide something like that, it would be an option for the county to just inspect their septic system and go on about it.
So will it just streamline the process without TCEQ having to come in and do it for this?
Yes.
population.
Yeah, and like I said, it'd be the same permitting process that we have now. Like I said, the county won't be out of any money. Everything will be, like I said, paid through by.
It's like the cities, some places don't have paved roads or anything at all, but you know, yet they may not have. Some may have water wells in some places.
I was gonna say Rungy's peripheral areas are underserved, but that's neither here nor there. I would go along with, let's make sure we have enough information to where Judge Long is satisfied with the situation before we take any action on it. So if we get that other ordinance or whatever it was in front of him to see what it is, perhaps we could go from there.
I'd be happy to look at it.
I move that we table this until the next regular meeting, and that we, in the meantime, research it, find the ordinance and everything else, so Judge Long has an opportunity to review it.
Second to the motion. Any other discussion of the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All voting for.
Go to Falls City and make deposits. The statute provides that we can do it either way. I look at the number 16 and recognize that there's a possibility that the departments are going to start depositing directly into an account, and the money is going to be picked up on a daily basis. Is that what I understand?
Well, that's not what item 16 is. That discussion will be on the next quarter.
But there is going to be some way that we can get the funds from here to
well, what
City.
Your office will do, they will take the monies to the county treasurer, and then the county treasurer will receipt them into a special account just for hot checks, and then it will go on to bank.
You are asking for all sorts of problems. That is not what the statute calls for. Y'all should have at least talked about this before you dump it on me today. Let's look at the statute and make a determination as to what the law requires us to do.
The statute specifically says, fees collected under subsection C of this article shall be deposited in the county treasury in a special fund to be administered by the county attorney, district attorney, or criminal defense attorney. Expenditures from this fund shall be at the sole discretion of the attorney and may be used only to defray the salaries and expenses of the prosecutor's office, but in no event may the county attorney, district attorney, or criminal district attorney supplement his or her own salary from this fund.
I know that y'all practice law all the time, but let me look at the statute and make a determination as to whether or not there is another part of the provisions that I can show you that does not require that it be carried to the treasurer's office, because if we carry it to the treasurer's office under the circumstances it is at the time, we may not get the money counted for 3 or 4 days. Y'all are, I think, going to change that, and if you change it, then I don't have any problems with it being picked up and directly deposited into an account. But to drive to Falls City or to drive and carry it to the county treasurer's office and leave it there for 3 days and hope that it gets put in the right spot is asking for a wreck at this point, and I don't want that. And that's the reason for the need to see what y'all are going to do in the next section of this, as far as the deposits are concerned. If you're going to do that, I don't have any problems with what's going on at this point. But I would like to see what's going to happen in the session that's to come up as far as y'all's deposits from the individual departments that go into a special account. And if that occurs, then I don't have any problem, because the sheriff's office can carry those funds directly to Falls City and deposit them into an account there, and they can be accounted for once a month. And that's what I think is happening. I have not been involved in that. I'm not a part of that. That is a responsibility of you and Vi, but if it occurs as I think it's going to occur, then I don't have any problem. But right now, it's a little ahead of schedule as far as I'm concerned, and I object to this at this point until I have an opportunity to look at the law and make a determination myself as to whether or not this is what's happening. Okay?
No, not okay.
Okay? Then what
I
would you
don't
suggest?
understand, I don't understand her, what's your objection to this? Well, I mean,
My objection is to carry the money to Vi's office under the circumstances it's set up at this time, and it takes 3 or 4 or 5 days to ever get an accounting of the money that's there. I don't have any problems with Rwanda looking at it, with Vi looking at it, with anybody looking at the account. I just don't want to be placed in a position of having to drive to Falls City every day to make a deposit, or to go to Vi's office and depend on that circumstance down there to get something accomplished. We have a program that's working at this time. LaWanda has the opportunity to look at that account. She can make any suggestions she wants to as to how the account's handled. Vi can look at it, you can look at it. But until something is put in place that gives us the physical ability to move the money from where it is now in our office to an account in Falls City, if that's where it's going to be, or wherever it is, I don't have any problems with that. But I don't want to have to, every day Dorothy has to either go to the treasurer's office and leave the money, or in the past we've had to drive to Falls City and deposit the money if we deposit on a daily basis. And I am of the opinion that that office should not have money overnight at that office.
well, I mean, what's going on to stop it from happening then? If you're of the opinion it shouldn't be handled the way it's being handled?
I'm saying I'm satisfied with the way it's being handled. It gets out of the office every day and in the bank. So I don't have any problem.
So what's the problem?
I don't have any idea. I didn't put it on here, Judge.
I think we need a number 16.
My name's on it. There's
Well,
no
I
question
didn't-
who put it on here.
Well,
But I want to understand what the problem is. If you don't think there's a problem at all, the way the money's being handled,
I don't think there's a problem.
okay? And so no action should be taken by the court on that item.
Until we see what's going to happen about the other stuff. We may want to change it with the other stuff.
What other stuff? What are you talking about?
He's talking about this.
Well, he's not saying that. I don't care what he's talking about.
Well, I'm talking about 16, Judge.
Okay, well, say what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the fact that there is an effort underway at this time to make a direct deposit into an account on each of the departments, the justice, courts, the sheriff's office, the treasurer's office, the tax assessor, collector's office, all people who collect money for the county. That procedure is going to change up. And
That
I
has
think
not been decided.
And that is not item 16. And those type of decisions or policy setting things are under the discretion of the county auditor. When I make accounting procedures and policies, I bring them to the court to acknowledge, which is number 16, but it's not the one that you're talking about. Vi and I have not even sat down and discussed the proposed change that I'm looking at implementing to see how it works. But that is not on this agenda. That will be on the next agenda.
that's the one, that's the reason I didn't know about any of this. That's the reason that I wanted it to be a part of that discussion. And I don't have any problem with it if it's a part of that discussion.
Well, based on the criminal code of procedure, I don't see how you can say you won't follow what's in this section, irregardless whether the money goes to the treasurer. And there is an accounting for it when it comes to the treasurer, because anybody has to come to our office first and we count it, then it goes direct to the treasurer and it's receipted. Now, it may not go to the bank that exact same day, but it is accounted for. You have a receipt for your funds that are turned in, no matter what office.
As long as it don't require us to go and I have to pay an employee, or an employee has to spend an hour and a half going to a bank
No,
or
it would
going
be
to your
turning the money
office.
into the treasurer.
If it goes to the treasurer's office, I don't have any problem with that. You just have to understand that I'm not interested in paying an employee an hour and a half to make a deposit when it's not necessary.
Are you interested in doing your job, Herb?
I'm doing my job, Judge. There's not a question at that.
That's not what I'm hearing.
You're not listening.
Yes, I am.
That is an opinion of a county treasurer and an auditor, and that's all it is. And all of us have a lot of things, and one of them is opinions. And now my position is, I don't have any problem with any of this if it does not require my office to invest in additional time that we don't have to make a deposit. Procedurally, I don't have a problem with whatever you want to do.
Do you have a problem handling the money that you're supposed to be handling?
I don't have a problem doing that.
Well, then, I don't understand what you're saying. Maybe I'm the only one.
No, I'm kind of clueless too. I'm not insinuating you're clueless. No, I understand.
I'll acknowledge I'm clueless.
Okay, presently, if I understand what you're doing is each day you're taking the money, if there's any collected from this funds, each time there's some collected that day, you're taking it directly to Falls City, is that?
No. We're taking it to a local bank.
Oh.
And deposit it in a local account.
Okay.
That is not the treasury. The Falls City is the depository for the county.
Yes.
We changed that because of the amount of time it took for an employee to go to Falls City to make daily deposits.
Okay, the inconvenience.
This is what is on the agenda today is to change those old policies where we direct you to deposit into the account and go to the treasurer's office with a deposit each day and get a receipt each day as to what is in there. And then the account itself is set up and managed by the treasurer and the auditor. And before you can write a check, the auditor and treasurer have to approve it. And it just adds to the bureaucracy.
A layer of bureaucracy.
That's right.
Did y'all get a copy of the criminal procedure code?
But it's state
It's not
statute.
optional.
I mean, you should have to follow state statutes like everybody else has to.
Really?
That's what it says you have to do, that's what you have to do.
Oh, really?
Yes.
When do we start that?
I don't know. I guess I'm the only one that does, if I don't follow it, it gets thrown into court, so maybe we should throw you in court too for not following your statutes.
But let me just ask you to do this, Judge. I don't have any problem with you changing it today this way.
I'm not changing anything.
But the only caveat that I have is I don't want to invest additional time in deposits. My office needs to be clear each day of money. We don't need any overnight money in that office. And that is a concern that I have for my office. I can't tell anybody else what to do, but that's my concern.
Okay, do you have a cutoff time, Mr. Hancock? I mean, today's was, like you say, you only carry money over, and I understand that. But in order for it to be deposited, you either drop it in the night depository or get to the bank before 5.
Yes.
Okay. Of course, there's no night depository, you don't have any accounting for it unless you physically take it to the auditors in the treasurer's office. And I'm vaguely familiar with that from the permitting process. But if you had a cutoff time at 15 minutes till 5 and sent one of your people over with the proceeds and have to knock on the door, but to get in, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but can Luana and Vi guarantee you that they will have that receipted very quickly so it doesn't tie your employee up? Is that what you're headed to?
That's what my concern is.
Okay, now the second half of that thing is, is when you request money from there, can they assure you that, does anything have to be done other than you request a payment or you're reimbursing someone from a hot check?
David, I really don't know at this point, because once that deposit process is under the control of the treasurer and the auditor, they pretty well can tell you what checks to write and what not to do, and how they're supposed to be dispersed.
Can I ask a
That doesn't
question?
seem to be a problem. That's not a problem for me.
Can I ask you a question?
So basically, the money that we're reimbursing is to the merchants who you're collecting for, correct? So basically, the money we would be reimbursing for would be the money collected for the merchants from the hot check, and possibly court costs to the county clerk's office.
Those are two of the things.
Those are two things. So what the county district clerk's office does when she collects money for restitution that we have to send out, there's a form that she sends us and tells us who to make the check out to. We call it a hand check. I write the check, Luana stamps it, and we send it on. You could tell us, okay, I want this done in a 24-hour time period. I've got 2 additional staff members. We can get that done. I mean, that's basically the checks that you need done. It's a form that, like Denise has.
I call it PO.
It's a
like purchase order.
Yeah, basically tells us who's it to, the court ordering it to be paid, and we can turn around and send it right back the next day, if not that same day. I mean, we could work it out to where it's immediately and off my desk, on her desk, and back to mine.
That's what I'm asking. In other words, it sounds to me like the whole issue of it being expeditiously handled coming in and expeditiously handled going out. Is that not part of the thing?
The issue is to be administered by the county attorney's office is a misnomer. I don't have the ability to administer it anymore. Whether I need to do that or not, I don't mind. But the funds themselves are used for one employee's supplemental salary, for the payment of fines in the county clerk's office, and the restitution of the 3 items that are handled out of that account. Nothing else is paid. Occasionally we will buy equipment if we get ahead enough to where we can buy equipment, but that is occasionally. I haven't done that in some time.
The code states that the expenditures from this fund shall be at the sole discretion of the attorney, which that will remain. It will be at the direction of the county attorney. It's just that the funds are supposed to be in the county treasury in a special fund, and we're not operating that way right now. And we haven't been. It's always been within the. When it states that about the expenditures at the discretion of the attorney, that means it does not have to be a part of the bill process that Commissioners Court approves.
How should we be handling this if we're not doing it the proper way now?
The way that I have proposed, that the code says that you have to turn it in through the Treasury. The checks get issued by the Treasury. It's a separate fund, but it's at the discretion of the county attorney or district attorney as to how those funds, when those funds, where those funds get dispersed. But they are supposed to be deposited in the county treasury, which therefore would put it in our county depository also.
But that's not through the court.
Correct.
I understood that.
And technically, this isn't actually an item for approval by the court because it's a statute in the Code of Criminal Procedures.
How should this be handled properly?
The way it should be handled is exactly as it's stated. The money should be turned into by for receipting into the county treasury in a special fund that's specific to hot check fees, hot check fund, whatever we decide to name it. But then the expenditures from it are at the discretion of the county attorney within realistic expectations. I mean, he can't walk in and say, I need this check right now. Hurry up, stop what you're doing. It has to be, we'll develop a form like Denise has developed or something similar to that. to get the disbursements done.
How long will it take us to put this in place to where we're doing it properly?
Like that, if there's cooperation.
How come haven't we been doing it before?
Recently, this has come up on the auditor's listserv about this. The prior county attorney that I worked with always indicated that those were his monies, they were at his discretion, he kept them, they were not part of the county's funds.
So it's an issue that's come up on this,
Yes.
I don't have any problem with it, as long as it doesn't cost additional time of the employees is the only concern I have.
And it's pretty quick of us counting the money and getting it turned in, unless there's other JPs in there and they have to wait. But
Is there a possibility you could give us a bank bag that's locked?
Yes.
And we could drop it off and pick it up? Give us 2 bank bags and we can drop one off and pick up the next one.
No, you're not leaving my office without a receipt.
We also could establish a dedicated time that Dorothy or whomever would come over and make that deposit.
That's what I was saying, in other words, close to the end of the day.
Well, the hot check clerk is only a part-time position, so she doesn't work full-time every day.
Okay, well,
It's just some hours.
you'd have to work that out, but
Right.
anyway.
But we take funds throughout the day. She's not the only one that collects the funds,
So someone who
we have
is
funds,
there every
yeah.
day would have to have a designated time.
As long as they don't find, all I want is just a way to expedite it, is without having so dadgum much red tape and everything.
Well, I take my step over and I go to Mrs. Curry first, which I assume is the same procedure you would
Yes.
follow. She checks it in, it takes, with my situation, takes maybe 5 minutes, and then I go to buy. If she's there, it takes maybe 5 minutes. Some of the other ladies are still learning the procedure. Takes a little longer, but I don't think I've ever been there longer than 15 minutes. Now, I haven't gotten there when anyone else was there, so that's the other part of it. I wasn't standing in line, and I've just shown up at odd times of the day, so.
We've spent enough time and whatever.
We want you to be able to function effectively, but we also want to follow the statute if possible.
Yeah.
Well, I think what he's trying to do is, and it's been discussed, I guess, somewhere down the line, but where every department would establish in the county, some banks, say, Karnes City, and you have a bank bag, you count your money, you got your deposit slip, you can take your money to the bank, or somebody would take it to the bank, and then you take your deposit slip and you give it to the county treasurer or county auditor for proper whatever.
But that was when I walked into it, that's what I thought this agenda item was on the agenda for, and that's the reason for the discussion. I don't have any objection.
I'll make a move that we approve this depositing fees, this number 15 as presented, and encourage all parties to work out the applicable ways of getting it done.
I second it, and the caveat I would add is that if there are issues, please bring it back to us. Would you do that?
Let me add, Cal, this of your motion, that this be a process that Luana has approved and
What she's requesting and what she says the statute requires.
Any other comments or? And we'll vote for, the motion was stated again, to approve the
depositing of fees collected under subsequent C of Article 102.007 of the Code of Criminal Procedures and a special fund in the county treasury to be administered by the county attorney.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All voted for. Thank you, Herb. We're on item 16.
Yes, sir.
Knowledge of new procedures for money collected department established by the county auditor, authority granted in LGC 112.001, authored by Rowena County.
Again, this is just acknowledgement of a new policy that I have established to assist with the reporting and auditing of any fee collecting offices. All offices involved received a memo on March 12th. And just to read it, so y'all all should have a copy of it, but this is just so the rest of you will know. Please be advised, effective immediately, all departments that collect money, cash, checks, money orders, credit cards shall be required to submit monthly summary reports that correlate all deposits for the period. Also required will be copies of the reconciliations of bank accounts if your department is authorized to have such. Several departments are already in compliance with the submission of monthly summary reports, so this request does not apply to them. Please continue the submission of weekly deposit reports and monthly summary reports. If the department has not been submitting monthly summary reports, please comply. The departments that are authorized to have bank accounts will provide copies of the reconciliations along with the monthly summary reports. Those departments that are authorized to have bank accounts like now that this involves are the treasurer's office, the tax office, the hot check fund. All others already are submitting their monies. They don't have checking accounts anymore. The county clerk, district clerk, any of the JPs, so they don't have bank reconciliations to provide. But this adds an additional auditing tool without having to every month or every quarter or whatever chase them down and say, oh, can I please have this information?
So the departments that, who would take strictly cash?
Well, there's not any departments that take strictly cash. They take a combination of cash, checks, money orders, credit cards. Any type of funds that are fees to the county.
So like election office, you take cash?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I hadn't heard of this policy until today. I mean, it's not a problem for me, but she said she had given them to everybody. And I do take cash, yes.
It was faxed.
For,
It was faxed.
Okay. To me, I mean, to our office? I don't.
To all offices.
Okay, I don't think I've seen it, but, yes, we do take cash for copies, for, reports, things like that. I also remember have a checking account, but it's not county funds, it's a fund. I just want to make sure, so.
From a narrow perspective, and the permitting office, we would be required, or are required, to report the road and bridge stuff as well as Ellen's sewer permits separately, correct?
Correct.
Move that we approve number 16 as presented.
Second.
There's no approval.
Okay, well,
We'll do it anyway.
yeah, man, we're in this mode.
What are we going to do with it?
We're nothing, we just acknowledge it. I misread it.
Okay.
I'm just trying to expedite things.
So we're at item 17.
Yes, sir.
Discuss act on the county treasurer's report.
Same song, I think fourth verse right now.
We're gonna get
We
that
want
corrected.
today's first.
Well, yesterday morning I walked into Luana's office and asked her, are all the journal entries done? And she said yes. And I said, I'm getting my reports tomorrow. They will not have enough time to approve them because it's going to be 3 months worth of reports, but they'll be getting their reports. And then the following month in April, we'll approve those 3 months plus March. Well, later in the day, I'm working with my report, my treasurer's report, in the net liabilities, assets. There was a balance in there. And so I asked her about them because I figured she could, between the two of us, we would figure out what was going on. Well, what has happened, those journal entries were, one, not done completely, correctly, and were not done completely at all.
These are journal entries done by the software
By the
group,
software group, not by the
any
auditor's office or my office.
The software.
The software. So I sent an email yesterday to all of them that we have been working with, saying they're not done. We ran the report. You can see where they weren't done. We went from a $102,000 balance in the road and bridge to a $1.3 million balance in the road and bridge on the net liability assets, which is your accounts payable. So they hadn't been done. They sent an email back today, Tamara sent an email back today, said, oh, we thought we did them, but I guess we didn't complete them, I think was what her words. So she completed them.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can we get Tyler to come here and tell us personally what the hell's going on?
I'd love it. Good luck with that. Yeah. We try to get them to come to do training on site. And
Maybe you need to send someone with hardware to make the software people show up.
Put a sign outside the courthouse that says Tyler said technology is not working for Karnes County.
They're not.
Can't do that.
So then I ran a report today, the new treasurer's report today, and the amounts that we had yesterday changed from what today's reports were as to more. And I showed them more. I said they went from $400,000 to $800,000. They changed overnight, and we didn't do anything, and her office didn't do anything. So we don't even know why they're changing. So here we are. I don't know what to tell you. I've asked for a phone conference this afternoon with everybody involved, with Donna Kelly, who is John Horton's boss.
Donna Powell.
I'm sorry.
Donna Powell.
Donna Powell. Let's say Donna Kelly. Oh, sorry, Donna. There's Donna Kelly. Donna Powell, who's John Horton's boss, who's the one, I guess, the manager for them. Rebecca Hummer, who is our go-to girl whenever we have issues with the new conversion, and with Tamara Thompson, who's the one that was supposed to be doing the journal entries.
I know y'all been doing all y'all can between you and Luan trying to get this thing corrected, but what can the court do? What does the court need to do to get this thing? It's just getting out of control.
Well, and I went to her yesterday morning. All the journal entries are done, and she said yes. I knew the payroll had been done. They had sent an email saying yes, they had been done. So we're assuming they were done until I ran the reports, and there was a difference in the net liability assets, which should say zero. So I'm just about as frustrated as you guys are.
They are altering their program somewhat to make it work the way that we were led to believe it was going to work. And to get that correction done, they are having to make these additional journal entries for what has happened from the time we went live through March 31st now.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've missed some, or they've not done them in their entirety.
Okay. Certainly they have some legal liability in the program they sold. I would propose or suggest that if they don't get this straightened out pretty quickly, that the county consider some sort of action, whether it be nothing more than a letter from Mr. Hancock or something from the court. But this has gone on unreconciled and inordinately long time. And I think the court, I think particularly the judge, and several of us are running out of patience with them. And I don't know what we paid for the program. Shelby probably does.
$1 million.
But
No, it's like
102,000,
102,000.
okay, well, $100,000 is less than $1 million, but it's still a lot of money.
That's right.
They need to get their stuff straight.
Right. Well, and Luan and I both have been on our listserv asking different counties, and I think out of 4 or 5 that responded, only one was happy with them. Some of them have had it for a year or 2 years and still having issues.
Well, if that continues, I would think we need to consider asking for our money back and looking for something else. If they can't get, if they are put on notice that they have a certain amount of time, and I don't know what the contract calls for, but if they can't get it squared away in a realistic amount of time, that we should have some restitution and go down the road and look for something that will work, because obviously we're taking a difficult situation and making it a contentious one. Right. And we don't need that.
No, and I think the Sheriff's Department has questioned going with Tyler Technology now because of the issues that we're having. They're getting ready to lose a big sale if they don't get our issue fixed. I think they kind of put them on hold, possibly, because of this.
Well, what about, you also
And you too, right?
heard with the
County
file?
I just looked at the program because I was told to look at it, so I I told Tyler that as far as I was concerned, until they get this thing fixed with the head office, that there wasn't any use talking to me.
Exactly.
We told them the same thing. They came and did a presentation with that, there's just too many bugs in the system to do it.
Okay, so hopefully in 2 weeks we'll be there.
Well, let's see what 2 weeks brings, and I'm speaking personally, not for the court, but if they don't get it done pretty quickly, I think we need to take a look at what alternatives we have.
David, there is a good contract in place, and it can be enforced. But when you start that process, it screws the whole program up by the auditor and the treasurer. But if it ain't gonna get fixed, that may be the only thing that's left.
Yeah, but and I told them, I'm under a court order, and you know this, to be given reports, and I can't.
Let's give them a little bit more slack in the line, but at some point, the old adage about jerking the slack out comes, and I guess we have to take the less good alternative. But,
Are we paying them a monthly service or something like that? Nothing at
That was
all?
part of the initial
Part of the
big,
Okay.
2-year fee.
yeah. So I've asked for a phone conference this afternoon. We got some snidey little answers about the journal entries. Once I get back, I'll see if maybe they can schedule it today or the next couple of days and tell them this is unacceptable again. Thank you.
The court's got us all in a tight spot, Judge People, about these reports.
Yes, you got me in a tight spot.
It really getting serious now.
I was going to say, we need to have the court and the county and the citizens of the county need to have this reconciled once and for all, so we can get books that are reconciled, books that are the same, and this goes away so we can concentrate on something else, whatever it may be.
Everybody had their say.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's move on to item 18, quarterly bills.
We're getting paid bills.
You'll go to page 11 under account summary. I will give you some highlights. Midway through the page, you will see a payment for $22,570 with the notation outside audit. That is the continuing charge for the fiscal year 14 audit. They have completed all the legwork and completed the draft where the applicable numbers were available to be submitted to the SEC last Friday for our continuation disclosure on our bonds. They anticipate
2013 or 14?
14.
2014.
They will make the formal presentation to the court on April 14th. The next entry, the appraisal district, $30,910.46. That's the county's second quarterly contribution towards the operational budget of the appraisal district. On page 12, the third item is $6,455, which is our budgetary contribution towards the public defenders. On page 13, there's a payment for $10,300.50. That is vehicle expense out of the Sheriff's Department. $9,540.80 is equipment in the code enforcement officer's pickup, and $760 is window tinting on 4 Tahoes. A little past halfway down is road materials, $386,269.38. Included in that is a 2015 Chevy pickup for $30,834 and a 30-gallon compressor, $2,699.99. So the actual total material cost is $352,735.39.
Can I stop you just a second, please? Round figures in a report like this always throw up a flag. What's $7,000 miscellaneous?
Well, David, you would need, that is some equipment that was purchased with LEPC funds and sheriff's contribution funds. What is the equipment, Susanna?
The equipment is the kit that we had discussed a couple of commissioners reports back for hazmat response. It's a round number because we had grant funding for $7,000.
Okay, that's fine, but you've done enough figures that most of the time someone finds round numbers.
Also on that same page is a payment for $3,740 for equipment rental in Road and Bridge. That is for a soil compactor. The total of this payment cycle is $778,369.36.
Another question. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but I noticed there were a substantial number of AT&T telephone charges departmentally. I don't know what kind of a contract the county is on. It may be the very best we can get, but I wondered if that would be at some point worth looking into to see if there was some way of, I don't know if they're charging us for long distance time or primary line plus long distance or what, but if there wasn't some sort of a package deal that was a no long distance charge, because I noticed there were great variation in the amounts of each department. Can you elaborate just a little bit?
Based on department, normally the local line charges as well as their long distance charges come out of a departmental budget. They are two separate billings based on the best possible contract possible.
Okay.
We've got a lower long distance rate doing it that way, but that's why you see so many multiple entries, is because we expense it by department.
Okay, but we have, you or your office or someone has twisted AT&T's arm to get the very best deal possible.
Yes.
On page 7, after page 7 is, what are we paying Tyler Technology for? For 300, it's just software management, I guess, but 330, is that a monthly charge?
That's county clerks, yes.
For you? Which number?
Page 7, under information technology. Okay. We got top of the line, number 669, says information technology. It says software management, Tyler Technology. It's just a minimum amount, but I was just wondering what we're,
That's for a program that Carol started the implementation on last year or year before, Carol?
we bought DPS a flashlight, I guess.
David, to go along with that $7,000 that you read flagged, on page 11, right before the first grand total, you'll see $2,087.03 from the sheriff CSD. That is the balance of those products that were bought.
Okay.
We had the 7,000 grant funds, and then the rest came out of the sheriff's contributions.
The reason I asked the miscellaneous is that's usually, if you're running a private business, that's a good rat hole, a good catch-all. And I've had accountants tell me, be very careful about what you throw in miscellaneous. And so when it showed up, it even bigger on miscellaneous.
I understand.
I move we go ahead and approve the payments for this month.
I second it.
So a motion and a second to pay the bills for this month as presented. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All voted for. Is this the one we need to?
Each commissioner initials on the front, and you sign on the final page.
as
We have one more item on the agenda, but I also see Mr. Underbrink there. Did you have something for us today?
No, sir. Not anything else.
Are the bids coming in? I noticed the advertisements in the paper.
Yes, we had, everybody was out when the bids came in. We tried to get some copies made and scanned, and we received those on late last week, Thursday and Friday. So I didn't have time to get it all together for today's meeting. But the seal coat bids came in real well. We were talking about $65,000 a mile, and the bids came in about $50,000 a mile. So we got really good pricing on that project, and we'll have it on the next agenda as well. County Road 199 and 211 is planned to be bid in between now and then, so we'll have that one on the next agenda as well.
This is just a follow-up after our conversation with the gentleman with the emulsion out concern, but we'd like to, if possible, I would like, and I hope the rest of the court would agree, that at some point that we take one of these less traveled roads and try this without, putting a surface on it, the kind like is on the way to Mrs. Hall, or I'm trying to think, it's 304, 302 or something, where there are only 3 or 4 people that travel it, but there's some bad sections, and see what it would function like on that, and see if that would give us.
I've already spoken with Mike about the possibility of doing several different scenarios, different levels of traffic, picking roads that, I know y'all selected those 3, but I wanted to discuss with him an idea like that.
Thank you.
Said everything on that. Item 19, executive closed session, under section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code for deliberation regarding real property, consultation with the county attorney and outside counsel regarding the potential purchase of property located at 408 East Wall Street, Karnes City, Texas, authored by Jeff Chapman. So we'll be in executive session for this part of the meeting. I have to ask, we all get in that room, I suppose.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right. We'll go into the judge's office, and the rest of you can stay out here and do whatever you want to.
All department heads that are in here while we're in executive session, we'll talk about our